Well, good afternoon. Over the past few weeks, we've been laser focused on giving parents peace of mind, especially as they return to work. It's why we released our plan to reopen schools in September for in-class learning 5 days a week with enhanced public health measures. It's why we've released our plan to reopen childcare at full capacity in September with extra precautions. We're confident these plans will allow both schools and childcare centers to reopen safely. The plans were informed by the best available medical advice and science from leading health experts. In fact, Ontario has some of the strictest public health measures for schools and childcare in the entire country. Because the last thing I want parents to worry about is whether their child is safe when they go back to work. As a father, I know there's nothing more important than the safety of our child. As Minister Lecce announced last week, our plan to reopen childcare centers safely includes additional public health measures based on the advice of our medical experts. Those measures include requiring staff to wear masks, ensuring frequent cleaning, screening children and staff, maintaining records, and ensuring frequent hand washing and hygiene. Every child care setting must also have a plan in place for what to do in the event of an outbreak. We're continuing to work closely with our municipal and First Nations partners and our child care operators to make sure centers can open safely as possible. And as I've always said before, and I'll say it again, we have to do everything in our power to keep our kids safe, and that's exactly what the measures do. But we know that as our municipal partners and child care operators prepare for September, they'll need some extra help to support the safe restart of our economy and the full reopening of our child care centers in September. We have secured a historic agreement with the federal government, $19 billion countrywide, with $7 billion to support Ontario families, communities, and frontline healthcare. This is a great deal for Canada, and it's a great deal for Ontario. It will provide billions of dollars to our healthcare system, our transit systems, our municipalities, and those who need it most. As part of this historic agreement, we're proud to invest $234.6 million with our federal partners to help safely reopen childcare across the province. That's $234 million on the table to help licensed childcare providers step up their screening and cleaning practices, purchase PPE to help keep the kids and staff safe, and hire extra staff as needed. This is about giving parents certainty. This is about giving their employers certainty. And above all, it's about protecting our kids and the staff who care for them. That's my #1 priority. Thank you, and God bless the people of Ontario. Now I'll hand it over to Minister Lecce.
Well, good morning, and thank you very much, Premier. At the early onset of the COVID-19 outbreak, we made a promise to parents, a promise to always have their back. And it's why we were the first province to take the safest course of action and to close our schools. It's also why we protected your pocketbooks, preventing child care operators from charging you fees during the extended closure. It's also why we offered free emergency childcare to critical frontline workers who stopped everything in their lives to support our province's fight against COVID-19. But going forward, as our public health situation improves, we know how crucial childcare is in relation to the reopening of Ontario's economy. Working moms and dads across the province deserve access to affordable childcare, and you should have a choice about what type of care is available for your child. We know that this cannot happen without a sustainable childcare sector and the incredible staff that go above and beyond to care for our children. They truly are shining examples in their communities. We've worked hard and hand in hand with our sector partner, municipalities, First Nations, and operators directly to ensure that sector remains strong. We have been there every step of the way to provide enhanced health and safety protocols and enhanced operational funding to keep our kids safe. And we have expanded childcare cohorts based on medical and pediatric advice. We've seen more and more childcare centers come back online. And starting September 1, they will be allowed to operate at full capacity with strict health and safety protocols remaining in place. Hardworking families depend upon quality childcare, we must make sure childcare facilities and programs are safe for children, for staff, and for their families. To do so, we know that funding needs to be in place. So today I'm pleased to join the Premier and the Deputy Premier to highlight our new partnership with the federal government, the Safe Restart Agreement, that will provide over $230 million to cover the costs of enhanced cleaning, as well as health and safety protocols in childcare centres. The Safe Restart Agreement will ensure a strong recovery for Ontario and for Canada. I want to thank the federal government and my federal counterpart, Minister Hussein, for working with Ontario on this plan. I want to be clear that today's announcement is only the most recent action we have taken to support hardworking parents and stabilize the childcare sector during these uncertain times. We've committed $1 billion to build 10,000 more childcare spaces in our schools. In 2019 alone, under our government, 19,000 childcare spaces were opened in this province. Now, this is on top of the childcare tax credit, which is saving parents money in Ontario. We'll continue to be there for moms and dads of this province, ensuring they can go back to work and that their child is safe. Thank you.
Well, before we take questions, I want to address an issue on the economy. President Trump came out yesterday and said he's going to tack on 10% tariffs onto aluminum throughout our country. And I hear that they're going to do tariffs on our steel industry as well. There's 40 categories of steel. They're going to go and tack on a certain percentage. I'm not too sure which one, what percentage it is, onto our steel. I had a good conversation with the Deputy Prime Minister this morning regarding this, and I just have to say how disappointed I am with President Trump right now is that we're their #1 trading partner in the world. We buy more goods off the United States than China, Japan, UK combined. And who does this? In times like this, who tries to go after your closest ally, your closest trading partner, your #1 customer in the entire world? Who would do this? Well, President Trump did this. And I encouraged the Deputy Prime Minister to put retaliatory tariffs on as many goods as possible. And it goes back to my message I've been talking about for weeks now. Folks, as individuals, we can't put tariffs on. But what we can do, we can hit them where it hurts. And where it hurts is we're their #1 trading partner as a federal government, but as a province, $390 billion a year. We're the #1 trading partner, #1 customer to 19 states. We're #2 to 9 other states. We need to start getting our manufacturing folks, the packaging folks, to put the Ontario-made logo. Rather than tariffs that might be a few billion, we can have an impact on our employees, our neighbors, our friends, our families. We do $390 billion a year. Even if we do 1 in 10 purchases that say made in Canada on it, that's close to $17 billion. That's tens of thousands of jobs. That's how we can retaliate, by making sure every product you buy and every manufacturer out there and all the big 5 retailers, grocery retailers, on top of the big hardware retailers, the Canadian Tires, the Home Depots, the Home Hardwares, the Costcos of the world, the Metros, the Sobeys, the Loblaws, the Walmarts. We need you to start buying more made in Ontario, made in Canada goods, and requiring the packaging that has Ontario made until we give the consumers a choice to protect our economy. Folks, we're an economic powerhouse. We're an economic powerhouse around North America. Ontario is. We can compete against anyone. We have the brightest, the smartest people anywhere in the world. Go out there and buy Ontario-made products. We're up against a real battle right now. It's us versus them. And I've always said, I love the American people. But right now, for the president to come and attack us during these times through a pandemic when we need everyone's support is totally unacceptable. And we may be small, but remember, we're a consumer giant, absolute giant in the world. So folks, please, this weekend, when you're going into the grocery store, until all the packaging gets changed, look on the back, see where it's manufactured. If it's manufactured in Canada, buy it. And that's how we can support our neighbors, our family, and our friends. Buy Ontario made, buy Canadian made.
We'll go to the phone line for questions. Just a reminder that it's one question and one follow-up, please.
Your first question comes from Haley Cooper with News Talk 1010. Please go ahead.
Hi, Haley.
Thank you. Hi, Premier. Given the constant drumbeat of serious concerns coming from parents about class sizes, will you commit to revisiting your plan on smaller class sizes right now, yes or no?
Well, Haley, you know something, as a dad, I get it. I have 4 girls that went through the system. I understand the concerns of the parents. And our plan is the best plan in the entire country. My #1 goal, what I lose sleep about, is making sure we have a safe environment for the kids to go back to class in the safest environment possible. And it's all about listening, it's all about flexibility, and we've shown that right from the beginning of this pandemic, that we have to be flexible, we have to be adaptable when this COVID changes, literally, this pandemic changes every single day. If we look back 3 months ago compared to where we are today, I think the province, and when I say the province, I repeat it again, everyone, the 14.5 million people, they've all worked together, and we're just asking for everyone, including the parents and the teachers union and the school boards, to work with us. I get it. I will do whatever it takes to make sure the kids are safe. I'm going to hand it over to the Minister of Education. Thank you.
You know, I think the Premier sort of expressed a sentiment we all share. You know, we're talking about our children, and we understand the obligation we have to ensure it's a safe restart, to make sure the kids and our staff can get back to school in September. So let's reflect on what we're doing in Ontario and benchmark it nationally, because I think that's important for people to recognize how we are leading and what that really means in the context of class sizes, of staffing and testing, and all the other elements of our program to get kids back into school safely. The first is we are the only province with a comprehensive masking strategy. Now, I'm good to see other provinces are looking to follow Ontario's lead. We're the only province that from grade 4 to 12 has a mandatory masking mandate, and we are encouraging them for the younger years at the discretion of their parent. We're the only province to ensure every child will have access to a free mask, and likewise all staff will have PPE to ensure they are safe. We're the only province in this country to provide funding, over $20 million, to do really robust testing of asymptomatic students, particularly in high school where the risk is higher. We are the only province to have 500 public health nurses in schools. And in the context of classroom sizes, in grades 1 to 3, we have the smallest, in the early years, the smallest classroom sizes in Canada, full stop. They're capped overwhelmingly at 20 students. Now, I appreciate, you know, in Toronto Public, for example, calls for reducing those sizes. And of course, as you know, the province by design took immediate action for high schools, because based on the emerging evidence we've seen, or we understand, as this evidence emerges, that the risk is a bit higher amongst older students than in younger students. That was the basis. It was on that principle that we mandated an adapted model for high school, meaning the half the amount of children in class, a maximum of 15 kids every other day or half a day or every other week, depending on the board's preference. That it was predicated on that belief to reduce the risk, to maximize spacing. Now, for Toronto, for example, that has brought forth this plan yesterday, it is a balanced plan. They've been able to utilize contingency in addition to the province, who provided $55 million last month, net new for Toronto Public alone, an additional $30 million last week, net new for that board. And in addition, they've looked at their rainy day fund, if you will, their contingency, and together they've been able to bring forth a plan that can balance, and that seems prudent. What I will say, though, is we're going to continue to be there for boards, given the fact that we are the only province, again, to have allocated $30 million to hire more staff to ensure distancing can be achieved. And the overwhelming advice from the medical experts that spoke to the government and advised the cabinet is that if we can take a multitude of actions, a suite of mitigation and layers of prevention to ultimately de-risk the circumstance, we're going to ensure that these kids are safe. That includes 1 meter of distancing, plus masking, plus cleaning, the fact that we have $75 million set aside in our plan to hire 1,300 more custodians, to put $25 million of hand sanitizer and soap into schools. These are significant investments. When you compare our contribution on a per capita basis and a per pupil basis, we lead Canada. But I think what the Premier's also noted is that we're going to be there for our boards. We're going to continue to be there for them, particularly in those areas, for example, in Toronto, where the higher risk zones, those sort of higher rates of transmission, we want to work very constructively, be solution-oriented, working with Toronto Public Health, who we're meeting with. We're meeting with the Toronto Public Board today at the Ministry, just to work with them to figure out how do we ensure safety? How do we ensure that parents put their kids in school with confidence? And that's our commitment, and we're going to continue to be there for our boards and for our kids in Ontario.
Follow-up?
Thank you very much. With all due respect, that didn't really answer my direct question. So the question is, given the constant drumbeat of serious concerns coming from parents, and you mentioned Toronto Public Health about class sizes, will you commit to revisiting your plan on smaller class sizes right now, yes or no?
Well, we put $30 million in place to allow school boards, including Toronto Public, to hire more educators. We're the only province to have done that because we accept that it's important that we have that distancing. Now, I've also indicated yesterday, and really through the beginning, that this is a living document. It's responding to emerging evidence. And so what I'm indicating is that we've put funding in place to enable more hiring. We encourage the school board to utilize those funds to do that. And we're going to continue to be there for our board and work with them on a solution going forward that ensures students can be safe. That is really the answer in short, because when it comes to our track record to date, we have stepped up investments, stepped up resources, more cleaning, more testing, more screening, and more presence of staff in our schools as a consequence of our investments. And we're going to continue to be there for school boards. We will ensure we do whatever it takes to keep them safe.
Next question.
Your next question comes from Rob Ferguson with the Toronto Star. Please go ahead.
How you doing, Rob?
Hi, good morning, Premier. So what I'm hearing from you and Minister Lecce right now seems to be we're sticking with our plan until we can't stick with it anymore. The way he was just talking about, it's a living document, it's responding to emerging evidence. So are you open to changing this plan to the smaller class sizes in elementary schools that, for example, Toronto Public Health called for yesterday?
Yeah, well, what we've always said that we have to be flexible, and we have been flexible. We have to be adaptable. We're still about a month away moving into the school year. But again, we want to work with everyone, no matter if it's the Toronto District School Board or Ottawa. And by the way, I want to give Ottawa School Board a shout out. They're always doing a great job up there, and I think a lot of school boards should take a page out of their book. They're doing a great job. But again, I'll pass it over to the Minister.
Yeah, look, we have indicated we're prepared to work collaboratively to find a solution. We are spending more in this province than any province. We have not seen any province change their ratios or their caps, notwithstanding the fact that we have the lowest classroom size in the earliest years in this country. So I guess what I'm saying is the plan needs to be responsive to the risk and to the emerging evidence, and it will. I mean, every step of the way, we've added new layers of protection. We've added elements that are sort of unprecedented when it comes to dealing with this pandemic by involving the Ministry of Health, and working very closely with Minister Elliott to ensure that we have a public health asset built within our schools, being able to rapidly deploy to keep kids safe. So we'll continue to build it up. It will, I think you will see continued support for our school boards, and we're working with them. In fact, today our ministry is meeting with the Toronto Public School Board as we speak to ensure that we come up with a solution that ensures safety. That's the bottom line. And I think when you're spending more than any province, we have a stronger testing regime, and obviously significant investments in cleaning, as well as a mandatory masking program from grade 4 and up. We feel confident in the plan with the recognition that we will respond to the advice of our doctors and our medical leaders that has informed this plan from the very beginning.
Follow up? Rob?
Yeah, thanks for that, Minister. What I'm asking is, it sounds like you're getting conflicting advice from Toronto Public Health versus Dr. Williams' office. What's the gap there?
Well, I'll pass it back to the Minister, but if I understand correctly, I remember the Minister telling me he sat down and got the plan approved from Toronto Public Health. The Mayor endorsed it. So I'll pass it back to the Minister. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think what the emerging evidence has suggested is that 1 meter of distancing, which was an element as proposed in the Sick Kids plan, the revised plan brought forth by Sick Kids, in addition to masking, in addition to multiple other actions to improve safety. Together, that is a protocol that will keep kids safe. In isolation, I could understand the challenge, but when you introduce masking, cleaning, the screening before the kids enter the school, the testing element, particularly for the high school students, and the involvement of public health nurses, the hygiene elements that are being strengthened significantly, when you look at it as a collective, that plan and that protocol will keep kids safe. It's the basis why the Chief Medical Officer of Health and Dr. Yaffe, the Associate Medical Officer, have provided support for it on the basis that we do all of those actions. We take a multitude of actions and ultimately layers of prevention to ensure it's safe. So, you know, I'll let the medical officers speak for themselves, but the evidence and the perspective shared from all of them is to really take a multitude of actions. And I think this plan does that. I mean, it is the most comprehensive, and it leads in the country in the context of what we're mandating and the investments we're introducing for Safe Restart in September.
Next question.
Your next question comes from Randy Rath with CHCH-TV. Please go ahead.
Hi, Premier.
Hi, Randy.
Today, the NDP have obtained a report through FOI that they say refutes the numbers that Minister Mulroney used to stop the LRT from being constructed. They're saying that this project is ready to go. You get the shovels in the ground immediately. It's good for COVID economic recovery. Should they just go ahead and build that LRT in Hamilton, Premier?
Well, we've committed $1 billion to the LRT in Hamilton, and it was the NDP and the Liberals that just didn't give two hoots about the taxpayers in Hamilton that wanted to ram this through, and I just asked the people of Hamilton. There's $1 billion of operating cost. I'm not prepared to put the burden of the tax onto the back of the taxpayers in Hamilton. We have $1 billion. We're going to give it to Hamilton to make sure that helps them. I truly believe Hamilton needs a transit system. The area is growing. More people are going there. I get it. And I'm there to support the people of Hamilton. But the easy way out is take the NDP Liberal approach and just say tax the pants off these people because they're going to be paying taxes on it. We'll give $1 billion, but the city has to pitch in too. And it's $1 billion of operating costs. We had experts go in there, and it is $5.5 billion, unequivocal. It's $5.5 billion, and the previous government was saying whatever they wanted to, just to buy votes. I don't believe in that. I believe in we stuck by the plan, $1 billion during the campaign. We haven't wavered. I want to get transit for the people of Hamilton. They're in need of it. I want to support them. We're putting $1 billion up, but I guess it's up to the mayor to ask the people of Hamilton, do you want your taxes to go up? Not a little bit either, drastically go up to pay for the transit system. And on the other note, the feds have been great, by the way. They haven't put in a penny. There hasn't been one single penny from the feds on this transit plan. That's not a knock against them, it's just the fact. We're the only ones stepping up and saying, here's the $1 billion. You hear silence from the city of Hamilton, you hear silence from the federal government, and it's $5.5 billion. So it's going to be up to the mayor to ask the people of Hamilton, do you want a massive tax increase like the likes of which is never seen in Hamilton before? My goal is to build an affordable transit system for the people of Hamilton. I want transit in Hamilton, but they need to get their numbers down pat.
Follow up.
So who will make the ultimate decision as to what type of transit system is built, and when will that happen, do you think?
Well, we have an expert group, a very diversified group that they've put forward a plan. Minister Mulroney is reviewing that plan, and we'll be announcing that. But again, we have $1 billion for the people of Hamilton, and I think we've stepped up in a big way for them, and I want transit built there. But, you know, the city has to realize there's $1 billion of operating costs, and they can't come hat in hand all the time to the feds or the province saying pay up. We're paying $1 billion, so we're going to do whatever it takes to get transit built within those parameters.
Next question.
Your next question comes from Michelle McQuick with the Canadian Press. Please go ahead.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Premier. A quick question for either you or Minister Lecce about the new childcare funding. I know there have been issues in the past with that money quickly.
Oh, Michelle, I think we lost you.
Do we have a sense of when this new money is going to be in their hands, and will it be on time for a full capacity reopening on September 1st?
Well, we're putting more money into childcare than any other province, more than any government in the history of Canada. $234 million for additional cleaning and additional staffing. So we're really pumping the money into the childcare system. I'll pass it over to the minister. Thank you.
In short, part of our negotiation with the federal government, it was really to leverage the maximum amount of investment for our childcare operators with the greatest level of flexibility, and that's what this agreement does. The funding will flow in short order to enable our operators to have additional investment, keeping in mind that as of September 1 of this year, we will increase capacity, essentially restore 100% of capacity, as our commitment was based on the medical advice. Increasing those cohorts and moving to that, which will make it more economically sustainable for the operator to open, given the fact that they could have up to 100% of their capacity with those new health and safety measures in place. This $230 million is pretty significant. It is historic because it's net new investments to help us in PPE, as the Premier said, but also in retrofits to make sure that these spaces can be safer for schools and additional staffing, but as well, it can be used in this period of time for any offsets if capacity was limited, as it has been over the summer, to make up those dollars and really help these operators get through the worst of it as capacity is low. So the funding will flow. It'll be bolstered by the province putting in place $2 billion on an annual basis for childcare in this province. We are on track to build 30,000 spaces over the next 5 years. And it was our progressive Conservative government that actually made as a priority, making affordability a cornerstone of our government by introducing a children's tax credit that actually provides up to 75% of eligible expenses for working moms and dads. That's, we're talking about significant savings for hundreds of thousands of parents, and we know it goes a long way, and we're always looking for ways to further make childcare affordable for parents in Ontario.
Follow up? Oh, I think Michelle's gone. Next question.
Thank you. On the subject of your comments about President Trump this morning, Premier, do I gather that you're advocating for an all-out sort of Buy Ontario campaign, and are you willing to take steps to try and make that happen?
Absolutely, and thank you for the question. It's just unacceptable with what President Trump did. We're the closest allies. We're supposed to be, part of the big family, and he comes and backstabs us like this. Unacceptable. We are an economic powerhouse. We're their #1 customer. I'm a businessman, and I would never go after my #1 customer and slap him in the face like President Trump did to the Canadian public in Ontario. We will come back swinging like they've never seen before. I said those exact words to Ambassador Lighthizer too when I spoke to him, and he said they're going to be putting these tariffs on. And I have a great deal of respect for Ambassador Lighthizer, by the way, very smart individual. My exact words, we're coming out swinging like you've never seen before, trying to take advantage of the little guy. Well, we aren't the little guy. We're your #1 customer. We're doing close to $1 trillion of trade. We're one of the few countries, I should say, that the U.S. has a $9 billion surplus with us. In the federal government, you want to come after us, and you're selling us $9 billion more than what we're shipping in? Like, give your head a shake. Like, it's just frustrating. But don't worry, we'll get out there. The public are the strongest when it comes to retaliatory measures. We can put tariffs, and I encourage that we put retaliatory tariffs on every single item we can, dollar for dollar. But folks, we're a team. We're Team Ontario. We're Team Canada. Get out there and buy Ontario-made products. We will kick their butts all over the place. $17 billion, 1 in 10. We can do it. We will do it. But it's up to the retailers. Enforce the packaging. And it's a benefit to anyone that produces. All you folks that are producing packaging, I don't care if it's potato chips, and God bless Frito-Lay and the folks from Nestle putting that for Coffee Crisp and Kit Kat. As you can tell, I support them one too many times. But this is what I want from corporate Canada. Step up and say proudly made in Canada. That's what this is all about. Let's start buying products made here in Ontario or in Canada. And They're going to feel the effects. We're responsible for 9 million American jobs down there because of our trade. So let's show them what Canada's made of. Buy Ontario-made products or proudly Canadian products.
Last question.
Your final question comes from Laura Stone with the Globe and Mail. Please go ahead.
Hi, Laura.
Hey, Premier. Just back to the schools. I heard what you and the Education Minister are saying. You're defending the plan. You're calling it the best in the country. But Toronto Public Health has seen this plan, and they are still expressing concerns. It's pretty straightforward. They say that classes should be smaller than usual. It will help with physical distancing. And if a child or someone in the class gets sick, they won't spread it around as much if classes are smaller than what they are right now. So why does it seem, or why is it that you and your government are not open to lowering class sizes at this point, considering all of these concerns?
But as the minister, before I hand it over to the minister, I think the minister is as clear as day, and you know, we're giving the boards $30 million to hire new staff. More staff equals smaller classrooms. We're flexible. We have to be flexible. We have to be adaptable. And my number one concern is to protect the children and make sure the parents feel comfortable. And we do have the best plan. We have the best plan, bar none, across the country. Can we improve? We can always improve. I always believe in continuous improvement. My number one job is to protect those kids, and I don't care what we have to do to protect them. We'll protect them. And again, one size doesn't fit all, Laura. Like we're so Toronto-centric here. You know, forget about the rest of the province, forget about the folks in North Bay and up in the Ottawa region. But by the way, again, Ottawa, you're doing a great job. But look at how far we've come as a province. We're down to 88 cases again. Everyone's pitching in. I always tell you, I play the smallest part. It's the people of Ontario, and we're going to move forward with this, with making sure we're flexible and we always listen. But I'll hand it over to the minister. Thank you.
You know, I think, you know, when it comes to Toronto's recommendations on reducing classroom sizes for kindergarten and grade 4 to 8, they put in place funding supported by the province, and additionally they've used ancillary funds from their reserve. And that is a prudent thing to do. This is an unprecedented time in Ontario. And so look, when it comes to the fact that Ontario already has the smallest classroom sizes, and for the earliest years, and the fact, Laura, that in high school, where the risk, according to the emerging evidence, is higher when it comes to transmission, we have reduced the maximum amount of children in a class to 15 in high school in Toronto, in every public and Catholic English and French school in the province, within those regions that have higher risk. So that's responding to the medical advice. And the Chief Medical Officer has endorsed that plan. Masking plus a meter of distancing plus hand hygiene in addition to more cleaning, testing, and screening together will ensure that the plan keeps our kids safe. But I think we've also indicated, while we put the $30 million in place to hire more educators, unlike any province that I'm aware of, certainly any of the major provinces I'm aware of, what I could also say is we are meeting with the board today. We're meeting with their public health officials, and we're going to continue to collaborate, because when it comes to landing this, it's simply about getting to a resolution that ensures safety. And we're going to be there for them. We're going to continue to be there for them, as I think we've demonstrated. A month ago, we announced for Toronto Public about a $55 million enhancement in spending, new money. And last week, we announced another $30-odd million in new money. I think we've indicated we're going to be there for the board. And I think it's prudent for them to use their reserves as well to deliver on this aim, if that's the preference and the recommendation of their board. Certainly we have a shared ambition to reduce the risk in any way we can. And the full multitude of actions we've taken, supported by the medical community, will reduce that risk, will keep our staff and our students safe, and we'll continue to look for innovative ways and solutions to support Toronto, but really, as the Premier noted, all school boards in Ontario to make sure elementary and high school kids can return with confidence in September, supported both with measures to de-risk for COVID, but also mental health supports, additional monies for hiring and mental health supports to make sure their development and their well-being is strong.
Follow-up?
On the $30 million, Premier, do you honestly think $30 million is enough for the entire province to hire more teachers and find more spaces to lower class sizes? And even if you do hire more teachers, where are the children supposed to go? How are you working on expanding classroom spaces so that kids can actually keep physical distancing to reduce the risk of COVID in class?
Yeah, we've already provided guidance to school boards in the context of using the full footprint of their schools, their gymnasiums and cafeterias. Cafeterias will not be operating as they were in the past. All these spaces will be repurposed for education, to be quite frank. And ultimately, we've encouraged them to be innovative and look for solutions with the context of utilizing spaces in their schools, and many of them are doing that as we speak. When it comes to the investment, I think we shouldn't diminish the fact that the province, by design, ahead of these concerns raised by several of the Federation partners, to be quite frank, we put money in place because we knew this is going to be a priority. And the fact that we are bolstered by the fact that in grade 1 to 3, for example, classroom sizes are capped at 20, which is by far the lowest in Canada. In addition to the fact that we're enhancing more custodians, more touch point cleaning, as well as more testing and nurses. And when you look at it as a total, you can't really isolate the problem. As a collective, the chief medical officer of this province has said that this plan will ensure kids are safe. But as evidence emerges and as needs are presented, particularly in those higher risk needs of Toronto, for example, where we're seeing higher rates of transmission, we want to work with the public board and all boards in Ontario to ensure those children most especially are safe. And we're going to do that every step of the way.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, everyone.